The Shock Therapy Podcast.
It's that boom, boom, boom.
At that point, electric current is passed between the electrodes in the head.
That shit just kicked in. I just feel like I smoked 1,000 blunts.
For discovery brings with it the penalties of society. Shame, arrest, prison.
Oh, sorry, I was taking life seriously.
I'm over the end dangerous territory. This is dangerous territory right here. I'm in.
I don't know what psychotic means, really.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning into the Shock Therapy Podcast for November 17th, Tuesday, November 17th. I'm your host, Carson McGregor, and I just got to tell you guys, I'm a bit frustrated with the system, with the fucking system, man. Whenever I say the system, I just feel like so hippy-dippy. Like, yeah, I'm tired of the system, man. But I'm real tired of this shit I've been going through. It's a thing I put myself into, a situation that I put myself into. I have a restricted license from the state for 6 months. It's supposed to end on November 21st, and I don't know if it's even gonna end because I can't get through to the DMV, and your license doesn't automatically reinstate when that goes down. So I'm just trying to figure that out right now. It's just a bunch of nonsense. I can't imagine what people must be going through when they get in trouble for real stuff. Because I have 2 misdemeanors. You know, that's not nothing. But it's also, in the grand scheme of crime, it's not much. Like, you can bounce back easy from 2 misdemeanors. And the amount of shit that I've gone through for these 2 charges is brutal. It's fucking brutal, man. Like, I'm not trying to feel sorry for myself, like, be like, oh, I'm going through so much right now, because, again, it's something that I put myself into, but I can't really imagine what you're going through if you get caught doing real shit. If you get a felony, if you get a fucking felony, you're gonna be on, you're gonna be on probation for so long. If you get a DUI, if you get a fucking DUI, the amount of bullshit they're gonna put you through, the amount of running you up the flagpole they're gonna do is brutal. Like, I am just drowning in bureaucracy right now, and I imagine everybody in my situation's got to be going through the same thing. I think COVID has actually done me a service by, well, I'll say that half-heartedly, because it's done me a service by making all this kind of irrelevant to me at this point, because I wasn't going out and doing stuff anyway. You know, COVID kind of just lined up perfectly with my license restrictions, so even if I wanted to go out and do shit, I couldn't, and I didn't want to go out and do shit because COVID. They kind of worked together. But now that it's come to this point, COVID's fucking me in the ass, because I can't go to the DMV and just get this shit done like how we used to be able to before, you know, in this new normal. I can't do that. I can't just walk in. You got to make an appointment, and they have appointments scheduled 3 months in goddamn advance, and I scheduled one for like January 14th or something, and it's just a fucking disaster. It's a disaster how bogged down that system is right now. I really do feel bad for the people working at the DMV, because they're getting fucked too. Like, the DMV is normally a busy place, but right now it's got to be off the hook. When they open up the doors, I mean, I imagine having appointments is probably good. Honestly, I think that's how they should have done it always. Is, you know, like when they were operating at full capacity, just have people set up appointments and have it be like a barber, you know. How, like, a barber, you can walk in. Walk-ins are accepted. But you're probably going to have to wait longer than if you'd scheduled an appointment in advance. So if you want to wait there for 2 hours, like the typical DMV experience, you can do that perfectly fine. But you can also set up the appointment. Yeah, that's a way better system. That's a way better system. I don't know why they're not doing it like that. I talked about on this podcast a couple of weeks ago how my voting experience was so fucked up, how it was so long and drawn out for something so simple that should be so easy to do. I should have just voted online, or by mail rather. And at this point, for most DMV services, that's what I do, is I just go online and I order a new license. It actually saves you $1. You know, a new license is like $20. to go to the DMV and get one. But if you order it online, it's $19. They're basically telling you, we are fucking swamped 24/7. And if you do us the common courtesy by taking your rinky-dink little problem to the internet and having UPS figure it out by sending you a new license, we'd really appreciate it, and we'll give you back $1 on that. But truly, I don't know how people are handling this, who have real offenses that they're dealing with, because again, my shit is so minute in the grand scheme of things. Like that whole thing with Meek Mill that was going on a while back, where Meek Mill was going through all that bullshit because he had this charge from all these years ago that was just getting drawn out by the court system. They kept getting him for every ticky-tack thing that he did, and giving him like another 3 years on his probation, and then eventually they put him back in jail, and everybody was like, what? Like, you're putting this guy in jail? Like, he didn't even really commit a crime. He just violated this probation that's been going on for fucking so many years, so many more years than it should have been going on for. And it opened up this whole conversation about how black people in America are just held down by the legal system. And that's really the case. I mean, that one seems obvious. Like, they're trying to keep, like, specifically black men in the system as long as they fucking can, to keep them systematically oppressed, man. Even any type of thing I say that's progressive, I feel like a hippy dippy motherfucker saying it, but that's really how I feel, because I mean, I'm a white guy, I'm a white dude, and I've had some encounters with cops before. Some encounters where I should have been in trouble. And I've only gotten in trouble during 2 of those encounters. I've had a lot. I've had a lot of interactions with cops, more than I'd like to admit. And I only got in trouble in 2 of them. And I ended up not really getting in that much trouble. So I can't imagine what you're going through as somebody that's like, as Trevor Noah put it in his book, Born a Crime. He was talking about something else. He was talking about apartheid, but you know what I'm saying? Like, somebody that's like, you're born in this body that the current system of government and society, the social outlook on everything, considers you to be more threatening than the average person. You know? Like, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. Out of all the social issues that I give a fuck about, that's one that I really give a fuck about, because that's just crazy. That's just crazy, man. I deliver to this place. I deliver to this prison. My warehouse job, I deliver supplies to them. And I've talked to the ladies that are inmates at this prison. It's a ladies' prison. And I always want to ask them what they did, because to me, women in jail just seems so bizarre. I know it happens. I know it happens all the time. I know they have whole women's correctional facilities, but just seeing it in real life, it's like, holy shit, like, women go to jail? I know that's probably like sexist in some way, but I just think of men as criminals. When I think of a criminal in my mind, I just think of like a guy. Murder, that's a guy thing, That's something that guys do. Holding up a liquor store at gunpoint, that's a guy thing. You imagine some guy with like flat 5 o'clock shadow and a beanie cap, a black beanie cap, and a big bag with a $sign on it. That's what I picture when I think of somebody holding up a store. I think of a guy. So I always want to ask them what they did, but I never do, because that's rude as hell to ask somebody in jail what they did. I don't know if that is rude. Do you think they'd be offended? I'm sure they would, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, if I was in jail, somebody asked me what I did, I'd actually kind of revel in telling the story. I'm in jail. Like, I'm here. Might as well fucking talk about it. It's like if you're an alcoholic, the best thing to do is talk about it, get it out of your system, kind of figure out how you got to where you're at. Maybe criminals have that same mindset. You know, people that are in jail for crimes have that same mindset, unless they're wrongfully convicted, in which case that's a fucking tragedy. But I always want to ask them what they did, and I never do. But they work at this place that I deliver to. They do like manual labor. And I remember one of them asking me, the company that I work for, they were asking if we were hiring, if we hire felons. And I said, I think we do, because I actually do think we do. I'm like, it depends, but I think we actually do hire felons. And she was like, oh, that's great. I'm getting out pretty soon, and, you know, I need a job, and it's good to have a place that I know is a potential candidate for some place I could get hired. And during that conversation, they were like, hey, you want to work here? We got positions open here, which, you know, they're making a joke. Like, do you want to work? Like, do what we're doing? Do you want to go to jail and do what we're doing? And I was like, I don't know. What's the pay like? And they said, what'd they say? They said fucking like 30 cents an hour. And I sort of knew that in the back of my head, that like people that are doing that type of labor in prison, doing a job in prison, you're getting paid like hilariously low sums of money. But that's bad, man. That's fucking bad. I'm not saying if you're in jail, you should get paid an amazing wage. I'm not saying that. But to not even make minimum wage, like, you're still an American person. Like, when you give up your right to freedom, does that also mean you give up your right to be paid a decent wage? I don't think it does. Because you're still doing the same work. You know? You're still doing the same job. Like, if somebody's, I don't know, doing what they're doing. You know, they're like mowing lawns. They're, you know, doing all this like physical labor, farm labor, technically. Like, a job like that, you can typically make $15 an hour doing that. I've looked at those jobs before. Working on a farm as a farmhand, you can make $15 an hour doing that. You know, it's an in-demand industry. So the fact that they're getting 30 cents an hour, that seems like we're fucking people pretty badly. Like, if you actually rehabilitate these people, if you actually like do what it's supposed to do in a rehabilitation center, rehabilitate them, then wouldn't you want them to have like a little bit of money to fall back on when they get out, rather than being in the massive amounts of debt that most people in that situation are currently in? Like, if you get out of jail right now, or if you get out of prison, like, you're going to be in debt, dude, because you have restitution to pay. You have all the lawyer shit to pay, probably still. You have all these fines and bullshit that you have to pay. It's like getting all these student loans, but instead of getting a degree, you basically get the antithesis of a degree. Like, this here certifies that I will never get a job. Like, isn't that fucked? They just send you out in the world with no money, basically no way to make money. That's so fucked up, man. That's so fucked up. Prisons are whack. Because I like to think that most people are good. I'm an optimist when it comes to people. I think that most people are pretty good. I think that the internet and the world that we're living in right now has made us feel so divided from one another, that we all have these different outlooks on life, and we have slightly different perspectives. All of us do, for sure. But I think, generally speaking, we're all on the same page that we just want to be safe, happy, and healthy. You know? That's all we all want. And I think most people want that for their, you know, fellow countrymen, for their fellow cosmopolitans, people of the world. I think most people want that for others. And I don't think the prison population is any different. I think it's all good people who were, for the most part, down on their luck. They were either down on their luck financially, addicted to drugs, in a position where they were doing something that was just bad because they, like a crime of passion or something. I'm not saying you shouldn't be punished, but like, fuck, man. Like, the amount of people that we put in boxes, in confined boxes for such extended periods of time versus the amount of people that probably deserve that kind of treatment is like, it's minuscule. It's minuscule. If I had to make a guess based on no evidence or research, which is how I tend to make most guesses, I would say that like 20% of the people in prison really deserve to be locked in a box and for several years with absolutely no freedom or no light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's like 20% of people that are really fucked up human beings that are going out there and assaulting people just for the fuck of it. And even them to a certain degree, like, how did you get here? How did you get to this point in your life where you're hurting other people for kicks? Like, where does that come from, psychologically speaking? Were you brought up in a broken home and that now you want to take that energy out on somebody else? And then people won't buy that theory because then there's plenty of people that come from broken homes that, that absolutely doesn't apply to. Most people that come from broken homes don't end up in the criminal element. But I don't know. I just... Even people that are doing horrible things, I think that it comes from something that their upbringing or society put onto them. Like the fact that you'd think that their brains are just fucked up. Their brain chemistry is wrong and it makes them do bad things. I think if you put somebody, let's take an Edmund Kemper, the guy from the co-ed killer guy from fucking, what's the show called? It's escaping me now. Mindhunter on Netflix. Great show, by the way. If you haven't seen it, that's a great show. One of my favorite Netflix shows. The guy from Mindhunter, the first season, he's like the killer that they're interviewing to try to, see what makes him tick. And they're developing this, and this is all based on real shit. This is all based on history of like criminal psychology. And they're talking to this guy, Edmund Kemper, and they're kind of figuring out as they go, like, okay, well, this guy was like abused by his like super strict mother, and he was told all these things about himself. Like he was constantly berated and degraded and hurt. He was socially outcasted. Like all these elements came together to form somebody that would kill. I believe he killed his mother and then another girl, and then another girl. I think it was 3. Went for the triple crown, as they say, the turkey, the trifecta. I don't know what killers call a triple kill. I don't know what they call it in their terms, in their lingo. But he killed 3 people. And to get to that point, psychologically, a lot of bad shit has to happen to you. I'm sure there's plenty of serial killers and murderers throughout history that nothing went wrong and they were just bad people. But I don't think it's most of them. And so the fact that we treat people that are criminals and people that have done bad things so badly just kind of shows that we have this really unhealthy thirst for vengeance. I mean, revenge movies are fucking wildly popular. That's like the number one reason to make a karate movie. You killed my father, you killed my wife, you killed my fucking sister, you killed my tribe, you killed whatever. You hurt these people close to me, you hurt me, you tried to kill me, and now I'm coming back for revenge. And so I'm gonna kung fu the fuck out of you until you die. Isn't that crazy? Karate movies are a lot like that, but they're not using guns or knives or anything. Like they're not separating themselves from it at all. Because a gun has this type of vibe to it where it's almost like a remote control on somebody's consciousness. You're just turning off the channel. You're just taking them down like boom. Like that wasn't even me. That was the gun. The fucking gun did it. The gun did all the heavy lifting there. Like, to kung fu somebody to death, you really gotta do it. Like, you really gotta put in some work, especially if they're also trying to kung fu you to death. Like, if it's kung fu versus kung fu and it's a fight to the death, whoever wins really worked their ass off. They practiced. They put in the proper training. Their diet was probably great. I mean, to get to Bruce Lee level shape, you got to be eating some greens, dude. You got to be eating some greens, some beans, some fucking fruit, potentially protein powder. That is crazy in that era of time to get that ripped. They didn't even know about nutrition. They thought cottage cheese was healthy in like the 80s. So you're telling me that before that, in like the 50s, what are they even doing? What are they eating thinking it's healthy? I think if I went back to like the 20s with my knowledge of nutrition and keeping your body in shape, I would be like starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears. They weren't around in the 20s, were they? I would be on a baseball team. I would be on some team. I would be a professional athlete, is what I'm saying. Like, I don't have a great build or anything, but I would just be miles ahead of everybody else when it came to physical fitness. Just the knowledge that I had. All these people just eating whatever, drinking constantly. I think there's also a toughness element to that. You know, athletes back in the day, like the Babe Ruth era, they were fucking doing drugs. They were drinking constantly. They'd get hammered before the game. They'd wake up like 15 minutes before they were supposed to be on the field and just kind of stumble out there. Their helmets on sideways. They haven't tied their shoes. And they would just play their asses off. The amount of stories, if you want to hear some great NFL or sports stories, the amount of stories of guys that just like were heavily intoxicated and then just came on the field. There's a bunch of them and outperformed all the other professional athletes on that field. There's this great highlight from a game. It had to be from the 70s, just based on the how the film looked when I watched it, like how the quality was. It had to be from the 70s, maybe early 80s. And the kicker is setting up to kick the game-winning field goal. And either it's a bad snap or it gets blocked or whatever. Like, it just doesn't go off. He doesn't get to kick it. And it somehow I think it got blocked because it got blocked and it ends up just popping right back in this kicker's arms. So it's this dude that's like probably 120 pounds soaking wet. Just he's got like 20 yards to the end zone and he's just running for his life down to like the left-hand corner of the end zone. And he makes it. He just outruns all these defensive backs, all these safeties. He outruns them and he wins the game. And in a post-game interview, not a post-game interview, but an interview after the game, I think several years, he admitted that he was on a bunch of cocaine when that happened. Like, he was real coked up when that went down. There's a bunch of players like that had a cocaine history. You guys been watching football this year? Holy shit, it's been a crazy-ass season. That's what I want to finish this one off with. I want to talk about some football. All right, if you are not a football fan, you can either turn this off or you can get educated by a dummy who doesn't really understand the game because I never played it. But I'm a huge fan. And, oh my God, man, the NFC East is a dumpster fire. This year. Everybody's been saying it. Everybody's been talking about it. It's been the talk of the town how the NFC East sucks so much dick. And the only teams we can seem to beat is teams in our own division. Like, I'm an Eagles fan. That's the reason I'm bringing it up. And the only teams we've beaten, really, outside of that random 49ers win, is we beat New York once, and we beat Dallas. And then we tied the Bengals. You know, a rookie quarterback took us past overtime, which is fucking embarrassing. But we just kind of suck, and we shouldn't. We kind of have all the elements at this point. Our team's getting healthy. If we had an offensive line, I think we'd be semi-dangerous, but for some reason, we just can't put the puzzle pieces together. We took a loss to New York the other day, and that was super embarrassing. Holy shit, that was bad. I guess they're on a hot streak now. They beat us. They beat Washington, the Washington football team, formerly known as the Washington Racists. But no, we are a crap division this year. All right, I'm going to make my prediction for the Super Bowl. I'm going to make my prediction, all right? Here it goes. I don't want to make it. I don't want to make an actual prediction. I'm going to say Bills. I'm going to say Bills just take it to the end. You know, they've kind of been on and off, but they've had enough like tough losses this season that I think that they're going to rally around that. And I think Josh Allen is the real deal. He's the real article. Like, that guy is just tough. He's absolutely a machine. He puts the ball where it needs to go almost every time. Damn near every time. He's got a great throwing arm. He's super versatile. He's got that Ben Roethlisberger thing where he can just like shake off 300-pound dudes and still get the ball out in time. He's got 3 excellent receivers, 3 of the best receivers in the league to throw to. So there's no shortage of targets there. And I think their defense is the only weak spot. It's not super weak. It's just not as good. And you know what they say, defense wins championships. I don't think the Steelers, as much as, you know, they have this undefeated season, I think they're going to get their fucking teeth rocked in the playoffs by somebody. Because I think there's better teams. I think they've played their asses off, but they've gotten lucky in a couple. The fact that Dallas kept it that close, the fact that Philadelphia, the fact that we kept it that close with them, that's not a team that's going to win that's going to consistently win in the playoffs. I don't think so. So I see maybe the Seahawks making it. The Ravens probably not. Just as of right now, because they don't really seem to have all the, they don't seem to have the clutch performance ability. They just took a loss to New England, who hasn't been very good this season. I don't think Tampa Bay, I think that's a flash in the pan maybe team. I don't think they got the, I don't think they got the steam to go the distance. I'm really leaning hard on Seattle, and I'm thinking Buffalo. Thinking Buffalo could do it. But I don't know. There's a lot of great teams out there. A lot of crap teams, too. And this is the first NFL season I've ever watched where everybody seems beatable. Everybody seems crazy beatable. Usually there's maybe 5 teams that are just dicking on everybody, just making everybody look silly. And their losses are kind of like close losses. Like they fight to the end. But outside of Pittsburgh, who has still appeared to me to be a beatable team. Outside of Pittsburgh, basically every quote-unquote great team this year has been beaten by a team that was previously thought to be their inferior. I mean, it's just a season of upsets. There's been so many crazy upsets. Dude, did you guys watch the fucking Bills-Cardinals game? Holy fucking shit. My upstate New York family, I'm sure they're pissed. I'm sure they were just pacing around. They thought they were going to win that game. They should have won that game. The football gods just took it away from them. I mean, to bring it down, you're down by a field goal. And for Josh Allen just to punch it down the field with like 2.5 minutes on the clock, great control of the clock, and to put it in the end zone, leaving Arizona 30 seconds to make something happen with, 2 timeouts. Like, it's been done, but it's not often that it happens. They put up a relatively good drive defensively where they pin him back, I think, behind the 50 to where they have to run their last play. They have to just run something and make something happen. This is the last-ditch effort. It has to be behind the 50 because because they couldn't have done the field goal. They were down by 4, so they had to go to the end zone. And that quarterback, whatever his name is, whose name I still don't know, the Arizona quarterback, like, he just launches one. Puts a prayer on it. Just a ball you never think in a million years is going to get caught. Because he's on like his back foot. He's throwing it, like, just falling down. And in triple coverage, the Cardinals receiver right in the middle of this pile. It's all Buffalo. 3 Buffalo fucking defensive backs and safeties are all standing around him, and he somehow manages to go up and get that ball. It was just it's a fluke freak play. I don't think Arizona really deserved that game at the end of the day, but I mean, that's just crazy athletic to be able to do that. That, like, kudos to that receiver whose name I can't remember, who's escaping me right now. People have switched teams so much, I'm forgetting everybody's fucking name. But I think that's the end of it. I think I'm going to just talk about football. For the rest of the season, I'm going to end the last, 10 minutes of my podcast just talking about football. Just boring the piss out of everybody that potentially is going to watch this that isn't a football fan. That was really engaged when I was talking about criminal justice reform, and then when I started bringing up the NFL, they probably shut this off. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're listening on SoundCloud, we have a podcast on this channel. It's named after the channel. Let's Start Dreaming. It's the Let's Start Dreaming podcast. Comes out every Wednesday and Sunday with me and my buddy Mikey. We have crazy conversations about whatever may come up. This podcast that you're watching right now comes out every Tuesday at noon, so keep an eye out for that. I always post. I haven't missed a Tuesday. I think that's everything. So drink RC Cola, sway for president, and you guys have yourselves a good week.